All right, awesome. Here we go. Good morning and welcome to Playing to Win on the last day of June 2021. Woohoo!
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have Jay Jay Tolentino on the call and feature you today. Jay Jay, I've known you a really long time and you're a really cool person. And I want to talk about your story a little bit. I want to talk about your business. I want to talk about your mindset. And I know you personally have been on a journey yourself. And I want to share a little bit about that because playing to win is such a mindset, right? So I'm really excited to have you with us today. Thank you to our studio audience for those of you on the call with us. As always, I start with a few questions for them for about the first half, and then we'll open it up. So if you guys can think about things you want to ask JJ too, and I'll watch on the live stream as well. So let's rock and roll. You know what? I want to read your bio though. It was so cool when I looked at it, JJ. Let me read your bio, okay? Because I want people to know
Go for it.
who is this guy named Jay Jay Tolentino. Because not only were you part, you're a very important partner of the Smart Living team, which was #1 for 2 years in a row in our office in volume,
Yes.
and now you've started your own team. But let's listen to a little bit about JJ. So raised in Killeen, Texas, JJ understands the numerous intangible benefits of life in Austin with its popular growth, culture, and diversity. His passion for real estate sales can be traced back to his days in college, which is when he acquired his real estate license, which I didn't know that about you. His first listing was his calculus tutor.
It was wild.
An investment property. That's crazy. And he's been helping people with real estate ever since. JJ graduated from UT Austin with a Bachelor of Arts in economics in 2005. He started the Smart Living team with his business partner Thomas in the fall of 2014 and has recently started his own team, the Next Level Property Group. Outside the office, he's a husband and father to toddler Valens, born in January 2019, with another little girl, Everly, born April 2021. So you've got a lot going on in your house.
That's a fresh bio.
And yeah, you guys are Pflugerville people. So welcome.
We moved to the burbs. Yes.
Living in the burbs. How? Because you were living downtown in a condo for a while.
Yes, I still have that, and it's being rented out right now. But the burbs is great. A lot of space, a lot of fresh air.
A lot, yeah. You can really, as the kids get older, I think you'll appreciate that you can, have a backyard for them.
Oh yeah, I was taking them downtown for a minute. That was interesting.
I bet. Yeah, our city's changed a lot in the last couple of years, hasn't it? Downtown, especially downtown, or at any overpass that we have in our city.
Yes,
so
exactly.
My heart goes out to all those people. So we
sure.
need to fix that. We need to find a way to fix that. So let's talk about JJ. Let's talk about playing to win. And playing to win, like I said, it's a mindset. What does playing to win mean to you, my dear?
In one word, thriving. Just thriving. I remember hearing play to win in Bold years ago.
Yeah.
And I myself enrolled in Bold, I think like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Counting one digital one. And I remember hearing play to win versus playing not to lose.
Yep.
And at some point earlier in my career, I was like, isn't that kind of the same thing? But it's not. And, it made me think, because even at the beginning, when just learning about real estate and getting into it, even getting a real estate license in college, it was like surviving versus thriving, just being a little bit more careful, just trying to make it versus I got these big ideas, these big goals. I have these dreams. I am more strategic and purposeful about it. And I have a really good way to go about towards that goal. And that's winning when you understand that you're taking these steps in the right direction. And it's interesting because we're ending June. Right. And if you think about, like, I'm a basketball fan.
Oh, nice.
So when you think about a lot of sports, there's like the 4 quarters, right?
Yep.
And then this is that locker room chat at halftime. And if you're
right.
playing to win, you have to like reassess what's going on in the game. You're looking to win 2021, and it's just very incremental wins is how to win the whole big picture.
Exactly. And I love that because it really is halftime. It's halftime right now.
It's
And
halftime.
and it's already it's almost like fourth quarter already, right? Because everything you do today shows up in 90 days. But
Yeah,
it's such a mindset thing of like playing to win is thriving and playing not to lose is surviving, right? And it's a
exactly.
totally
Yes.
like you said, most people I think that don't really think about it would think those are the same thing. And
Yeah,
they couldn't be, if you really think about it, they couldn't be more different. It's like you can play defense all the time, but if you don't play offense and score that basketball, you don't shoot the hoop, you don't shoot the ball and score, you're not going to win, right? And so we
totally.
need both. And you have to have the defense, right? You have to survive to be able to thrive. But if your energy is focused on that one, that's what you get more of. So I love that you said that example. Let's talk a little bit about you were sharing with me before we went live about the one thing. Like you're on this journey with the one thing. Tell us a little bit about that before we get into those stuff.
Yeah, I even just like being in the office, it's like, oh, I want to be a top producer, and it's great. Like your name starts ending up on the list, and then you go to the award ceremony, and you're like, what's it like to be like a number one team?
Yeah.
And then me and Thomas did that for 2 years. But I remember that summer, and I was telling you about this. Like, it's a lot of deals, but I've seen people do more,
Yeah.
right? So that summer, I had like 90,000 in GCI or something, like in 2020,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And my kid is one, and me and my wife, busy summer, she's just like, you need to help out with the 1-year old. And I'm like, my version of helping out is closing all these deals. I got like 90,000 in GCI. I'll be over here. That's me
Yeah.
helping. So
Right.
she's like, you know what? She's a teacher, so she's off in the summers, and she's like, I'll go to the in-laws for like a month. And I'm closing up all the homes. I'm like eating real estate, breathing real estate. If you're watching this, you probably know how it is. You're like showing and negotiating and putting out all these fires. And I'm closing the deals. They come back, and at that age, my son, like very quickly, like that month, I was like, you look really different. And I just felt like time was going like super quick.
Oh
And
my
it
gosh.
hit me that like this is not sustainable. And I started thinking about like all the resources and all the things that we have. And I read the book, The One Thing, about like, when it came out like 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I kind of misinterpreted it. I like read it once and was like,
Got
my
this.
one thing is to work all the time or
Kind of like a
something
play
like.
to win, right? Yeah, I got
Yeah.
this. We
And
all think that way, right? We all
yeah,
think
and don't
that
get
way.
me wrong, like,
Yeah.
it's good to have some commission checks, right? Don't
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's good to have in the bank. And I've gone to like the conventions, and I actually approached prior to this, the previous convention, the last convention we like physically had, the 2020 in
In person.
Dallas,
I guess it was 2019. Oh wait, no, February 2020. Yes,
February
right before
2020 in
COVID. Yes,
Dallas.
sir. You're right about that. Yep.
I saw another one thing presentation. The
Okay.
the vice president, Jeff Woods, was speaking about this whole thing about digital planners and like time and just the whole one thing
Yeah.
time thing, because it really hits you about time as like, are we investing our time, are we spending our time? And I did approach him after that, his presentation. He's like racing to another presentation. I'm just like in the hallway
Hold
like, hey
on.
Jeff, like what's up with this? How do I live this stuff?
Uh-huh.
And we exchanged numbers, and he said, hey, if you really want to live this, he said, do you want to be a one thing Navy SEAL? And I said, yeah, why not?
I
And
love
he said, you should be a trainer, you should be a one thing trainer. We exchanged numbers. That was February. I kept the number, and then that summer I had that, just it was like a breakdown, which leads to a breakthrough. And then the following fall, so that was just like less than a year ago.
yeah.
I called the office and I said, hey, I want to join this one thing trainer thing. So ever since then, it's been a lot of training. You go through training, but then I'm also training others. And
That's how
There's
you
a
get
lot
your
of training
training.
videos. Yeah, that's what I meant by training. Like I get
Yeah,
trained, I train others. And
yeah.
then I'm turning in one thing training videos to the board, and then they'll certify me at some point. And I'm still working on that right now.
Okay. So, but I think that what I'm hearing you say is you had a month where you didn't really see your little one, right? And you're like, wait a minute, right? Wait a minute. And JJ, you're a young guy, but blink, and then you're like me, and you have a 20 and 17-year-old, right? You're like, what? You know, they were first and fourth grade when we came to Austin, and
Yeah.
and so the one thing is so much more than just, I don't know, the time management thing is so big for everybody,
Yes.
and
Yes.
prioritizing, right? So do you feel like you going on this path of you wanting to become a coach and trainer for the one thing and help other people? Do you feel like that's helping you become more purposeful and intentional in your life?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I watched this series, and thank you for putting this series on because we don't interact. And
Yeah,
I watched the Andy Allen one because he's super amazing. Right. So any
amazing guy. Yeah,
opportunity to
amazing guy.
pick at his brain. But he was talking about how strategic and purposeful he was. I didn't realize how close he was with Gary either until that interview. But it was it's that like I think there's that busy work, and there's figuring out what's super intentional, what's super purposeful. For me, this journey ever since like this past fall, and that training, like I was interacting with the VP who's essentially under Gary and Jay.
Oh yeah, Jeff's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we're deep in it. And to me it was more like a reflection time because I used to just move like buy your client,
yeah,
showing, presentation,
right.
call, follow up. You're just kind of moving. The main thing I got out of this journey is a little bit more reflection time. Like take a time out.
Mm,
Let's figure out which calls are the most effective calls. Let's figure out which strategies are the most effective, and realizing that it doesn't have to be all these people, especially if you don't have time. Now that I have two kids, it's very thoughtful about what's going on. And for me, with my personality type, I didn't realize that time out, reflection time, and just a moment to figure out what's working and not working, to strategize before you actually go out there, and how important that was, because it's a lot more peaceful to understand.
yeah. Yeah, and you will be so glad that you're on this journey because, everyone everyone has like 24 hours in a day, right? No, not everybody has the same amount of days in the world, right? Because you
Hmm.
never know how long you're going to be on this earth. So one thing I think that's so important about the one thing, and really like what is the one thing, like looking at things differently. What's the one thing I need to do right now that if I did it, it would change everything else, right? And it's what's the one thing with my family, and with your family, it's probably time because your wife's saying, that's awesome about the money, but guess what? I need you to change some diapers, or I need you to,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I
I
mean,
mean, I
it's
feel
not.
her. I
Yeah,
understand this.
yeah, and
or,
it's
that,
exactly that.
or with your business, with your clients, it's like, what's your one thing? So maybe you are, more selective of who you're giving your time to because you don't have all the time in the world. Like time is your greatest commodity, your time and your energy, right? And I think the one thing is a book is timeless on that. I love when I travel, don't you? And you see like the one thing,
I
the
know, in the
airport,
airports, and you're like,
so good.
our founder wrote that book, and
It's really
you're
cool.
exactly right. And I learned so much about the book. Like, do you know it was gonna be called The Success Habit?
I think I had heard something like that. Yeah.
And that's the habit where you're
Yeah.
constantly asking yourself, what's the one thing that I could do for my wife that, would make her happy and make us feel more cohesive as a family? What's the one thing I could do today to make sure this client is happy? What's the one thing I could do for my income to make sure that this plays out properly, like going into the next half? What's the
Yeah.
one strategy that I'm going to focus on in order to win 2021? Just constantly
Right.
going through those questions. And it's a lot easier because one thing is a lot better than two things, three things, or all the things, or the 10
Exactly.
things you hear on a training.
Yeah, exactly. And I think JJ, I think people misunderstand the one thing. Oh, it's just one thing. No, you can have multiple one things because you, like you said, you had it for your family, your business, your health, all these things, right? You have them for, but it's like, what is that one thing right now? So you can set that domino up. So when you nail that one, it's just this automatic, like synergistic flow to where you want to go. And I think people don't take enough time to realize that. So here we are at halftime. I love basketball too. And so here we are at halftime. You've got 2 quarters behind you, got 2 more to go. And what a great time for people to implement, like what is the one thing?
Yeah.
Because so many times the one thing doesn't get done. The one thing doesn't even get discussed or thought of because they're so busy in the everythings, in
Yeah.
the all things, right? So let's talk about like, what is something somebody could do right now, you think that could help anybody listening to this call to kind of reset their mind for the second half?
Yeah, for me, it's reflection time. I have this. So, guys, I'm a one thing trainer candidate. I have a one thing planner, and in the back of this planner is just a bunch of graph paper. I mean, everybody has like notebooks, right? But
Right.
the thing about the blank pages in the back of this, it's in a one thing planner. So all those ideas that you may have, I just have to like brain dump, just
That's great.
brain dump
Yeah.
all these things that you want to do, all the things that you think you could do. You know, even me, I might buy a bunch of books, but I have to come to peace and say, I'll read about 4 of them this month at most. And if not, this is the one book I'm going to read this month, right? So it's just taking that time out to really put everything on a list. It's this exercise that I've learned in this journey of they call it like making a to-do list.
Mhm. Tell us
And
about that. I love that. I love that exercise. To explain what that is, what you're.
yeah, it's very simple. And I do it with a lot of things because it's kind of like a version of journaling. And guys, you should see my notes, but it just one another thing I think about is if this is what it looks on paper when I'm organizing it, like when it's all up here, you got to understand there's a lot of stuff going on. So now you get it on paper, and then you could start, seeing, okay, these are my 10 lead generation ideas. Or in my case, it's a lot of calls. And with the 2 kids, I've built a massive database over the years. Like when I was talking about grinding with my team, and just through the years, it's huge. And sometimes it's as simple as, okay, I have all these people I can call. Who are the top people that I could call at this point? Like who are the sellers that are most likely to sell? Who are the sellers that are, going to really benefit from this equity? Who's like me and has 2 kids and needs more space?
Yeah, exactly.
So once you write everything all down, you just go through each thing. Is this something that's super effective that I think is going to make a difference? And then you shift that over. So you start making an even better, more effective list. And then you pretty much filtered out your to-do list and you turn it to what we call a success list. And then you go a further step and you prioritize that success list. And you say, okay, if there's one thing I could do, what is that? And you keep that up there. And the way you talk to yourself in the way that things work is just one thing at a time. Let's just figure this out one thing at a time. So you would ask yourself, once I complete this, because this is how this works, once I complete this to full completion, I'm not just going to touch it, really do it. What's the next thing I could do once I earn the right to do the second thing? And once you constantly go through those exercises, a lot of things you do at work are the top things to do. But you can't do that on the fly. That,
Right.
at least for me, speaking for myself, that takes like a good time out, at least weekly. Uh,
But doesn't that
yeah,
give you clarity though? It gives you so much more clarity when you can, and that's a discipline and that's a habit, right? That's why
yeah,
it's
yeah,
success habit, right? It's like, okay, what is the thing I need to, the one thing that I need to do right now? And when you just can brain dump like that, and then you're like, okay, all these things I really need to do. And then you pull out, okay, but what are the most important ones? And then it just helps you. It's such a great way to brain dump of everything that you need to get done. And then it's like, and then if you look at that list that didn't make it all the way to the final, who else can do those for me, right? Who are the other
Yeah.
people that can do those? Because maybe it's not all you, right?
Yeah.
But it's keeping you focused, keeping you on track. So I love that whole prioritizing your success list, right? I love that.
Totally. Prioritizing your success list
Yeah,
and coming up with
that's
a success list.
yeah, exactly. That and it first you have to start somewhere, and I think a lot of people miss out on where they want to go because they don't even know where they want to go, and they just go with it. They wake up and they play not to win every day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, they play not to lose
Play
instead of
not to lose. Yeah.
which is like you said, a totally different energy. So let's talk about a little bit about the market. So what do you think right now in this market? And it changes every week, right? That's what's so interesting. What do you think an is a really important thing an agent can be doing right now in the market we're in?
For me, and my time all of a sudden got like smashed. I got the 2-month-old and the 2-year-old,
Yeah. Thank you
and
for being on this call today.
it's all good. I've talked to my wife about this, and I got my work hours, and that's that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that one thing is taken care of,
Okay, good.
and it's been just making sure my database is still super in tune with me. And I still do the database additions. We've heard about this. There's the analogy of, you're protecting your castle, and there's a moat that you're building around it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just making sure you have that database and you're still nurturing that database. Even more about my background, like 80-90% or so of my business is spherical, like very organic relationships,
Yeah.
like naturally who's on my cell phone. So as long as I protect that database or those relationships, then I'm pretty good. And when I say protected, I mean they think of me, they know how referrals work, and also just you got to be persistent. This It's a scary time, but it's also a great time, because one way to look at it is like, if you're scared, then someone else is scared, and if you can work through the fear and
Yeah.
be extra brave, then you start to build your database a lot more. I've noticed that, because I'm sure you've seen more agents like, oh, I can't really, like, this market is something else. So that's because I would say maybe a few years ago might even been tougher in some ways. Just kind of depends on how you look at it, right?
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
because
Yeah.
everybody's in it and the transactions are easier. But now, if the transactions are tougher on the buy side, some people get out there. And I would also understand that this is a bit of a long-term game. So you build that database now, next year, you're ahead. It definitely takes some time.
That's playing to win though, right? Playing to win is not always like what's the fastest way to business right now, right? This is especially when you're somebody like you that's so high referral. You basically sphere people who know you organically built, which is awesome because you yourself said you have quite a huge database.
Yeah,
Must be
yeah,
all those, the so in just real quick, when you were going to college, were you doing apartment locating or what was
yeah.
your license for? Good for you. That's
Uh,
amazing.
And
Good
it's
job.
funny, I didn't know what was gonna happen. Well, I started seeing it, but eventually, you know, some of those renters are now sell
That's
buyers,
exactly where I was
and they're
going.
like executives at Facebook. It worked
That's what I
out really,
mean.
really well.
The relationships that you started in college because you were smart enough to get your license and start doing, locating are now your buyers and sellers, right? Which
That
is so
worked
cool.
out
But
super
but
well.
that's what I'm talking about. When you play to win, think big, helicopter up. Don't get stuck in the weeds and think long term. And don't get frustrated when it's not happening fast enough. Just make sure you're doing it the right way. And you're doing the smartest next thing. And I think that's what I'm hearing you say is like, and what a great time to reach out to the database because who doesn't want to talk about real estate right now? Because people are really in a situation where if they sold their house right now, they could pay off probably a lot of debt. Americans have a lot of debt, right? We carry a lot of debt. We have a lot of credit card debt. We don't learn these things in school about how to be good with money. And so those of us that don't, and that's not a judgment thing. I understand. I mean, I had credit card debt when I met my husband, and because of his influence and he's a real saver and very different mindset. we've really balanced each other out. And I've in all my Keller Williams years, I've learned so much more about money and wealth. And the one thing, and all the studies that you and I have done, JJ, with Keller Williams too, is I think differently about money. So I understand, yet I have very many people in my life that I love and care about that don't have a good financial place. So they need to start somewhere, right? So think about, what is if they own a property right now, that could, if they sold, I mean, just a thought, if that
Yeah.
could wipe away and get that debt off of them, would that be worth it for them? Right. Just those kind of things. And that's something, Andy kind of brought up too, when we were talking, and multiple agents have brought up, like, we're the resource for our people. So why wouldn't we want to be letting them know what their options are? We're not saying to do it. We're here to provide, and educate them. Right. And so that I love that you're looking at your database differently, of like, who can I help now? Who needs to know this information now? It's
Yeah.
not just randomly calling people. You're very
No,
purposeful.
I used to do that, but now,
Well, yeah,
which still works. It still got
it's
me.
still better than not doing it, right? It's still better
Yeah.
than not calling the database, because that is also the biggest problem for agents, is they don't call their people.
Trust me,
But
you could
yeah,
call the most random people and something would happen. Like, cause I used to do I would do everything. But I love how you said they don't teach this in school, because I say that a lot.
oh,
But
do
it's
you?
so
That's
true. And at the
so
same
true.
time, you assert yourself as the professional there. You
Yep.
get into these situations and you say, okay, you're looking at retirement, or
Yeah.
what can this equity do if you move to Seguin? This is a real situation. You
Yeah.
move to Seguin, Texas. How does this help out your retirement? They don't teach you this in school. So let's talk about what you could do with this money. Okay, you could park some here. This goes
Yeah.
to your daughter, and you can still live in Seguin.
Right.
And you kind of don't like what's going on in Austin
And you
anyway.
already
So
want to
here
go
we are.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I mean, is like, I think, and so you started after me, but when I started, I was in Nevada, right? And people know my story. It was short sales foreclosures, right? So I really felt like people were so scared, right? It was the opposite market of right now. And so they were so scared because they had no equity. They'd lost all their equity, and they didn't know what was going to happen. They definitely didn't want to go into bankruptcy, because they knew what that would do to their record. For
Hmm.
7 years, you can't buy anything. I mean, you're ruined, right? So it was completely opposite. And yet I feel like the agent brought so much value to help them understand what their options were, right?
Yeah.
We were the educators. And so I feel like now, in the market of today, you got to educate the people moving here, or the buyers, on what's really going on. And then we need to educate our sellers of what are the options. And that, what you helped with that client, that changed their whole life
It's good. She's awesome.
financially.
Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. I mean, that's the stuff we get to do every single day in real estate, which is
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
It's my favorite stuff. I still keep in touch with her too.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Okay, so you talk. I don't know if this is what you're doing differently, but do you think, when I say what are you doing differently, is it more that you're more strategic, purposeful of who you're calling? Because you've always been kind of good about your database.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you study the systems, there is a similar system. Like, you do make your calls,
Yeah.
you do create these relationships, but you know you do it a little differently because you're better at it. You're just the professionalism. Like, if you read Shift, that makes you that much more different from other agents that haven't read Shift. And I'm
Yeah.
saying that
Sure.
book purposefully because that can explain, like, you just steal paragraphs from there, and that's how you talk to your people about the market.
Oh yeah.
And once you take career visioning, then your standards and your list of your business systems are that much cleaner. So if I was to pitch a client, I just say I'm better. Like, there's the experience there. We make sure that you're happy. We're the type of team that gets referrals based off of the work we do, and we have higher standards.
Right.
Uh,
You take
and
care of your people.
yeah, and just from, like, genuinely, I'm just different. So I'm gonna do a variation of successful things.
Okay.
So I am me, but I'm also putting those efforts into those things that I don't know. If that's a good answer, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, before we open up for Q&A, let's talk a little bit about buyers. How are you educating your buyers in the market of today?
I love Shift because it's hard to look at the angles, and that's one, because you can understand this big market view. And two, once you're in there, you have to know the market. And it does change from week to week. You
It's
know,
so fast, right? It's changing so
yeah, and you have to be able to stay on top of it. The best thing to do is explain the different ways this can go. And if we do this, this is what happens. Uh, I know it's difficult for a lot of buyers. Like it's crazy, but if you understand the market, you can consult them. Some people can purchase. Some people are in a space to be aggressive, and you could
Yeah,
feel out how aggressive they have to be to get it. Because you're in the market. You really have to get out there and like I always say we're checking the temperature on the water in
love
this one.
that.
And now that
Yeah,
we're in, this is the temperature. This is how we got to do it. And if they're the group that can't purchase, we just wait it out. And again, building and nurturing that relationship. I had VA people that had issues earlier in the year
mm,
because nobody wanted to look at a VA loan. But recently, we got like a early July closing. It's just
right.
because there's some buyer fatigue going around,
Yep, there
so
is.
there's these little opportunities. So then you go back to those people. So it's really just kind of understanding what's going on in the market, one, and then two, going back to your success list. Who's successfully ready to do whatever move fits with this market.
Yeah, I love that. And I just think being on your game is it never been more important to be on your game than now. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah,
Agent.
and I think you just have to be out there. You really don't know until you're like writing an offer.
Exactly. Exactly. You really don't. So how about sellers? How are you educating? Are you doing anything different with your educating of your sellers or doing anything differently?
Yeah, because sometimes the expectations are different. I had a situation where one neighbor earlier in the year, I sold their house and it was like crazy frenzy, right? And then she referred me to the front door neighbor. So the
Okay.
front door neighbor, I went on the market more recently. Very interesting. We had like 4 showings that weekend. Still went way above list price, but she was freaking
Only
out over the weekend.
50, right? Yeah, right.
She was like, JJ, I heard you to get the circus going. Like, why is there not a circus at
Mm,
this house? And I had to explain the buyer fatigue. I had to temper the expectations. Um, and she's happy, super happy.
sure.
But
But
I had
that
to understand what that conversation was going to be like.
right. And how far apart were those couple months, those sales?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was like a
And,
couple
and that's
months.
how different it was, right? You went from like, 100 and some people coming through an open house and 90 offers on a property to we're still above price, but it's like, okay, we had 4 offers or whatever, or 4 showings. And
Yeah,
and in that fast of time.
yeah,
And so I find it really interesting to watch and learn from you guys in the market of what you're seeing and what you're doing to prepare. Because I think some of that is on pricing for sellers. I think it's different now. I think educating them on expectations, like you said, setting expectations, right, for both sides. Because
yeah,
I feel like the buyers are actually starting to maybe win a little bit again, like at least they have a chance where they didn't before, kind of thing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the sellers are kind of like, okay, they're still going to get top dollar because this market is really strong. It's just going to be different. So setting expectation, don't you think is critical for the experience for the whether you're a buyer or a seller?
yeah. I think the experience and just understanding different ways. I think that's what makes an agent look more professional. You paint this whole picture, and there's less surprises, and I think that's what puts you in that driver's seat. And they're just like, this guy knows. I mean, he called it. Like he said this
Right.
in the pre-listing, conversation.
And now it's happening, right? So okay, so
Yeah.
what are you really great at that's working for you, JJ? What are you really great at?
I just say following the system. I think I'm super likable, but
I would agree with that. You're totally likable.
but
Absolutely.
like I still have to make the calls. I still have to, you know me. I just like follow a lot of
Yeah.
the systems. Like if Bold says you got to make contacts every week, you do that every week. Things will spill out. I do. I like learning. We talk about this all the time. So it's like a constant, like this is all fun and this awesome journey for me. And yeah, like, but that's my thing. Like I'm a high I, so I'm using my relationships and
Yeah.
just getting on the horn, and every relationship is very good. And I look at it as this community business, and I'm in the city of Austin, and that professional that's helping people learn stuff that they didn't learn in school, you know?
Right. That's fun for somebody that's an influencer like you that actually really likes people genuinely, right? I
Yeah.
understand that. I think that's why we like what we do so much, because people is a real natural thing. Like relationships is how we get energized.
Yeah.
And it's obvious with you because your energy is just supernatural, like likable, and you're having fun with it though, because you've also been doing it a while, and people can burn out. And like you said, I mean, that's a real natural feeling. You yourself were kind of like, and then you found the one thing, and it's kind of like you're growth minded. I think that's what's working really well for you too, is you remain growth minded, and you're always learning, and you trust the model. Like you're the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, right? That book is amazing still to this
Yeah.
day, right? And
Yes.
you're one of the people that teaches that. And I love that you do that.
Yeah. It's I think there was one year I like audiobooked it like 4 or 5 times in a row, I think.
Oh, really?
And
In a row?
yeah, I was just like, I think I went to convention, and I was like, yeah, someone said to continuously like read, like you read it once, you're in preschool, you read it another time, you're in kindergarten,
Yep.
another time you're in first grade. And I was like, okay, let's get through this. But after you really digest it, it's fairly simple. Like the model's fairly simple. And
Yeah.
then when you do it, you get the results. And then you realize you could make that simplistic model yours, and start building on it at one block at a time.
Exactly. And that's where the one thing comes in, because
Yes.
success is or what it's success is simple and not easy, right? But that everybody
Yes.
doesn't do it.
Yes.
Because they listen to all the noise, or they don't get focused, they don't get purposeful. We live in a world where we get so much information at us all the time, and so
Especially
for me,
nowadays.
oh my gosh, much more. It was something I forget because I did the one thing training first when it came out. I didn't do it with Jeff, and I bet Jeff is amazing. And I just I haven't been teaching it at all, but I value the one thing message so highly. And I really intend to live it, and consult to that with our people about really finding the one thing, because it's not everything, right?
It's
It's the one.
not. It's not. You can't do everything. You can't do it all.
You can't, this whole we call it the FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, but did you really need to be there, or was it really good that you were home with your child when he was
Hmm.
sick, or whatever, right? Like at the end of the day, when your life is done, and you look back, right? And it's like, if you want to go fast, by yourself, but if you want to go far, go with others. It's like, did you take the people you loved along with you on the ride?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love the lesson about, you said, and I didn't see my son for a month, and then he looked different, and it was like, oh wow, right? Like, okay, I need to change something.
Yeah. Especially at that age, I was like, did you just start talking? Like, did I miss something? Like, your mom
Yeah,
was like, you
exactly. You
sounded
don't miss
different.
those first important things. So I just want to read a couple comments from the live in Facebook. Sharmila said, JJ and I had offices close to each other, and I have heard him make his calls religiously every morning. It was inspiring to me.
Awesome. Thanks, Sharmila. She inspires me too. I'll be calling her for that luxury listing talk.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then someone named Mary, who's an agent that I know in Reno from my old market center. She's awesome. She said, love making sure my database is in tune with me. Rashida from our office says, love it. Reflection time. Ruth says, JJ's the best. Love watching him grow.
Happy birthday, Ruth.
Yeah, happy birthday. Woohoo. And then there's 4 other comments that I cannot access on that one. So anyway, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open it up for a couple questions. If anybody here, Diane, Coco, Silas, any of you Jonna, any of you in our audience, would you like to ask JJ something? This would be your chance.
I would like to ask something, because I was attending JJ's morning like for 2 times only.
Yes, Coco. Yes. Thanks for coming.
It seems unbelievable that you are being able to do this, because I mean, not unbelievable. To me, it sounds very hard to just do your one thing. I just
Oh, it's super hard. Yeah.
that's what keeps like Melanie said, all these distractions, how do you have so many things around, the phone, the text, everything. How do you do it? How do you concentrate on one thing? That's something
I had to go through this phase of this graceful accountability, because I think one of the concepts in the book is habits. And the thing about habits is it's super automated. And when we talk about playing to win, there's that fork in the road, right? Where you could be habitually winning, or you're just like, oh man, there's so many things I want to do, I can't do it. And during my one thing journey, I was like, I got to get on this other lane. So I would do the smallest things and just give myself a bunch of credit. Like, what's the one thing I could do for my health today?
Okay.
And then some people are thinking like, oh, I should run a mile, I should like go to the gym for an hour. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna chug a cup of water.
Exactly.
And then I would really like give myself, I honestly would be like, man, I'm like LeBron James drinking water in the morning. I'm like just figuring out how to give myself like a little bit of credit here and there, because it's too much. I think when you start learning about habits, honestly, I read a book, Tiny Habits, because in the one thing, there's that big section about habits. It's just so automated. And like Gary's, they asked Gary what was his most like advantageous habit that he's built. And he said just building one habit at a time. So I think the habit of just kind of giving yourself grace is worth a lot. And once you start going in a direction where it's like, at least I mean, I'm not perfect by any means. Like this is my 411, right? That I'm looking at every week. I was supposed to have this, and this is like after one thing training for less than a year and just, all that. This was supposed to be updated by Monday night. And I just updated it recently, like this morning before this. So I was late, but like I did it. I still did it, and I'm gonna give myself credit for that, because I used to not do this. I used to do this like once a year, So giving myself credit on the frequency of something is good, and the reflection time is really good too. But I think you have to start somewhere, and just. Yeah, like that cup of water, I'm still like I still track water drinking. There's all these like little habits I started building, but it kind of started there.
Thing.
Like I drink a cup of water and feel good about it.
and yet you celebrate that because you're training your brain
Yeah.
to reward the good behavior. And but that's the thing, Coco and JJ, right? It starts with something small. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
It has to be small, yeah.
Yeah.
Because start small, and then it can grow into something else, and then it becomes a new habit. What's the next thing I can do besides water for my health today, right? Because now water is such a habit, because I've been drinking more water every day for 66 days, right? Or however, that's the one thing we say, it's 66 days to create a new habit. Now I'm going to start walking 4 times a week or whatever on these days, and just little things, right? Yeah, I love that.
And that's honestly how I started. I just took something small. Like sometimes if I get too stressed out, sometimes I actually still think like, I'm still drinking water every morning.
There you go.
It's all good. It is all good.
Yeah,
sounds weird, but it works.
Us high eyes, we need to have that. Like, it's okay, right? Because it's an energy thing. I totally relate to that. But you did this. Hey, Jonna asks, how are you using leverage in your business now as a solo agent? How are you using leverage as a solo agent right now?
It's similar to the principles, like, I was just talking to Melanie about like all the assistants and all this stuff. And I take some reflection time, and I think about who are the people to call. If I was to get the assistant to do one thing, what is the one thing? What's the most effective thing I could do? It's more the leverage is my control on time, like really controlling my time. It's not necessarily, oh, I gotta leverage my full-time assistant, but I mean, it's very interesting. It's still productive, and that's even leverage for myself, because once I start getting a full-time assistant, then I could start training them on, hey, assistant, this is how you're going to leverage your time. These are the exercises that you have to take. You know, you're going to have to look at your 411. I would say this is my 411. So I still take time every week to draw this out, and this is very well thought out to help me focus on this call list. And this first thing on this week is a call list. So leverage is not necessarily people, especially in a space that I'm in. It's leverage your thoughts, your ideas, and the control, the easy actions that you can do.
So as a solo, because you don't have a buyer agent or anything right now, you are the agent, and then you have leveraged yourself with admin, right? So
Yeah.
you can do a lot when you leverage admin, right?
Yeah.
And
So
I
yeah, I
that's
went from
the
like
thing, 'cause
full
Donna's
time.
a solo agent too. So she's like, how are you leveraging? How do you use leverage? So, but you have admin help.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I'm not like totally by myself. I've had virtual assistants part-time.
Okay.
I have another part-time assistant, and I have ad hoc TC.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. It's that's definitely leverage. But I was used to a full-time assistant.
Yeah.
I think that's what she was kind of wondering, if I went from full-time assistant to like minimal assistance.
Right.
And even with the minimal assistance, I'm like, hey, this is what we have to do, because it's light, but you know, a lot's still getting done.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Any other questions from our group? Diane, did you have one?
Yeah, I have one. More out of curiosity, just listening to you. JJ, you're awesome. I ran into you in the office a few times, but neither here nor there. Do you have a vision board?
Check this out. You see this 411?
Yes.
Vision board. Boom.
Nice.
I made it on yeah, it's right here.
That's smart. I like that.
I'd love to tell us about your vision board.
Well, I started with the 7 circles in the one thing. So they talk about like spirituality and all these different circles. It's spirituality. What is the next one? Health,
family,
key relationships, personal life,
financial,
job, business, financial.
Yeah.
So this is Maui, because me and my wife went to our honeymoon there.
Oh.
This is a very interesting travel year, but that's still there. This is moving to the burbs. This is one of my favorite realtors. There's a magnet here because I'm a magnet. My family, $1 million properties I've sold. The one thing, my family again. I put Diego here just because I like Diego, and I didn't know where else to find pictures.
Yeah, 50 transactions last year. I love that.
Yeah, these are people meditating just because for mindfulness.
Right.
I put an economical SUV there.
Okay.
Because I do like a Tesla, but I also have vision boards for different years.
Okay.
And the Tesla's on the other one.
Okay.
But I put Eminem there because he's like a great recording artist, but also known for like being a lyricist, like writing a lot. So I have him writing because I listen to a lot of like rap music, and I'm like, I know he spent a lot of time writing. So that's like me writing down my success list.
I love it.
And there's a picture of my knees because I burnt out my knees by running like crazy. So I'm taking care of my knees and figuring out other ways to exercise by taking care of my knees.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And you just did you make that on an app or anything? Jonna was asking, or did you just make it on a piece of paper?
PowerPoint. I just drag stuff into a
Just
PowerPoint board.
Okay.
And then you could click something and it'll like organize it for you. I don't know if you played a PowerPoint lately.
Nice.
You just like click like make it look better, and then they just put it together.
I love that they have that option. Okay, Diane, did you have any other question besides that about the vision board?
No, not right now. I got a whole bunch, but you know, it's like, yeah, I got to get my pencil and write them down. You know,
I love it. I love it. Okay, Silas asked, do you split your time between personal and work on daily and weekly basis?
Yeah, Yeah, like the one thing, and asking yourself that out like throughout the day, like, okay, what's the one thing I could do for my health? I chug the water. What's the one thing I could do for my family? I give her like a big fat wet kiss on the lips before she drops her kid off at daycare. I look her in her eyes and I say, I love you. You are
Good job,
awesome.
hubby. Way to
Yeah.
go.
Right. And then I get to work and start making a ton of calls. So when you think about that, and I also like make sure I make my toddler laugh,
Mm.
and I count them. I'm like, I'm gonna make like 5 or 6 good laughs, like belly laughs, and
Oh, I love that.
get like energized off of that. So when you have that kind of mindset, yeah, even like tonight, me and my wife, and my wife is like, she absorbs some of like what's going on, and I'm like, planning time tonight. So we get together and start to put together our own success list. I call it success list. She's along for the ride. She like she knows I'm doing the one thing stuff, but
That's
I'm
awesome.
really like making our success list. She'll just call it planning. But that's like how it's been lately, and that's what that's what this journey has brought me to, because I really just used to work a lot. Like those numbers are very like meathead, like just
Yeah. Crunching,
just out there.
Have you done the couples retreat, you and your wife, the one thing
Yeah,
couples retreat?
we did it in November.
Yeah, because not very many couples take time together to
Yeah.
do this kind of planning, and I think that's so key. I think that's really cool. And there's that. I don't know if they do it once or twice a year, but there's a couples retreat if anybody's interested that you can actually do with a spouse, because it kind of brings you together when it pulls your worlds together. Because at the end of the day, the financial stuff, that's you guys together, right? That's your family empire, and the more on the same page you guys can be with each other, I think the happier you're gonna be. But I love that every morning, you got giggle time with the little one. You tell your wife you love her, and you start your day with that, and then you're focused on work, right?
Yeah,
And then
and I feel like a winner. I'm like, I drank my water, I kissed my wife, I
that's
made my
right.
son laugh. And it's like these little things, and it just gives you that I'm playing to win. Like I'm a winner. Let's keep this going.
Exactly. And it's moving you in that direction of
Yeah, and
winning,
those are like
right?
super small things to do.
So it doesn't have to be this big ginormous thing. So I hope that's what you guys heard from today is pick, it's halftime, right? Right now it's halftime. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because half of 2021 is already in our rear view mirror.
Mhm.
And so right now it's time to really reflect. So if you don't have a habit in your life right now that you're really reflecting on, what is the one thing that if I did that, everything else would fall into place or become an easier or unnecessary, right? That question that's asked in the one thing in my health, in my business, in my marriage, in my relationship with my children, with my relationship with my friends, or whatever that is for you. But think about it. It could be something so little as drink water. Drink water. I mean, I have 2 of these at my desk every day, because that water is it sounds like a little thing. It's such a big thing.
Yeah,
Right.
it
And then
sounds
it
weird.
moves.
It
Yeah.
sounds weird, but like,
No, it sounds, yeah. If it sounds weird if you don't understand how important something a habit like
yeah.
that is. Habits are important, right? The way, the way you show up in life is a habit. The way you
Mhm.
communicate is a habit. It's a choice that you make every day. And the longer you do it, like people that know me, I just say, it's just a choice. I'm just choosing to be this way every day. It's a choice because I like being this way, rather than focusing always on the problems. Do I have problems? You kidding me? Running market centers for 14 years. I got every day a whole list that any of you agents probably want to know about, but you're not gonna see it, right? You're not gonna see it because it's a choice, because I play to win. And I see that in you so strongly since the moment I met you, JJ, is that you were that playing to win kind of guy. You have that positive zest for life. And I'm just excited to be your partner and be part of your journey.
Appreciate that, Melanie.
Well, thank you for being. Any last parting thoughts for our group today?
I wanted to put it out there that I am still a trainer candidate. I used to offer training on Saturday every morning, but then the regulars started coming, and now we're on like 411s and 135s. So I didn't want to mix up the seasoned people. But if you're interested in the one thing, like reach out to me, because I still have to I'm basically giving out free training so I could show the board how awesome I am. And
Awesome.
yeah, I'd be happy to chat
Maybe
with
start a second
anybody.
group or something. Maybe start another group, so you've got your high level people going. You keep that group going, and then you start with another one. It's halftime. Time for a new group, right?
Yeah, it's halftime. Let's chat about it. That's still out there, and just
Cool.
start small. Do one thing at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself, because you could habitually overwhelm yourself, and that's going to burn you out. So just really take time to reflect. Do that one thing. I'm here for you. Let Melanie know. I'm still like way open for coaching. So just let me know.
I love that. And I love what you just said. You said people are, overwhelmed, like the thought of being overwhelmed is a habitual habit. Like you can make that your normal, that you're always overwhelmed. Like when you hear, like when people say to me, oh, you're so busy. I know you're so busy. Yeah, I am busy. And I have time for you right now. What do you need? Like, how can I help you? Right. This whole, people get stuck in that. So if you're somebody that's always, I'm so overwhelmed, let's talk about reprogramming and resetting and working with JJ on just, going through this one thing. Yeah. I love that they make you guys go in the field and teach it to earn the right to be official. So anybody who's going to be part of your group would learn a lot from you, JJ. So thank you.
I'm there. I'm on the journey too. It's a journey.
Give
yourself grace and you'll get there.
Exactly. Well, thank you everybody for being with us today. And JJ, you're a rock star. And it's just so fun to play with you. Welcome back to the Burbs.
Yeah.
And congrats on baby number 2. And I expect great things for 2021 and beyond from you, my dear.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you.
Later, y'all.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Get it.